If you're anything like me, you've experienced more than once the feeling of abandoning your goals. And if you really reflect on it, there always seems to be good reasons. The challenge was too big. The hill felt too steep, or it just wasn't the right time. Sometimes we convince ourselves we'll lock in when life calms down, but life rarely does. It stacks, it grinds, it tightens, and before you know it, you start borrowing from yourself. Not money, but time, energy, attention, and action. That's what this podcast is about. I'm Cedric, and this is Built Daily, an LIGX podcast. This show is for people who want success, but are tired of falling short of their goals. Tired of starting strong, fading out, and missing what they truly want because they can't stay consistent long enough for results to compound. If you keep losing traction on the things that matter most to you, you're in the right place. This is Built Daily. Let's be honest. Life happens. You make plans, and then life shifts things. Your time, your energy, your priorities, in directions you didn't plan for. And when that happens, we start negotiating with ourselves. We tell ourselves there'll be a more available version of us in the future. I'll get to that workout. I'll get to that business plan. I'll get to that first step of that life-changing action. I'll start tomorrow. And before you know it, you begin building a lifestyle around postponement. That's what we talked about in episode 2. The worst kind of debt. Because every time you postpone what mattered, you borrow from a future version of yourself. But the truth is, the future doesn't get lighter, it gets fuller. So today I want to take the next step. Because once you see that postponement is the real leak, the question becomes obvious. What actually holds the day together? I'm talking about what we normalize now as normal days. Those busy days, distracted, full days. Days where nothing is technically wrong, but because everything is full, the things you really want to move forward stall. Built Daily is about systems, life systems. Not because systems are trendy, but because systems are what you return to when your mood and motivation can't be trusted. They're what you return to when your schedule starts shifting. And here's what I've learned the hard way. Even when you decide early, you can still lose the day. Because deciding early is necessary, but it's not sufficient. A decision doesn't protect itself. A decision can still get delayed, crowded out, replaced by something that feels productive, pushed to the evening, where the costs are higher and the odds are lower. So the missing layer isn't more discipline, it's constraints. And let me define that cleanly. A constraint is a rule that protects what matters from a normal day. That's it. It's not punishment, not a restriction for restriction's sake. Protection. Because without constraints, your non-negotiables are still negotiable in practice. You can believe in them, you can want them, but if they're not protected, they get postponed. And postponement is the beginning of the spiral. And here's the honest truth. Most people don't need a better goal. They need fewer decisions, less negotiation, a structure that reduces the daily debate. Because the day doesn't fall apart at night. It falls apart when action gets delayed and friction starts to build. And the longer you wait, the more expensive the action becomes. That's why this matters. A late workout affects energy. Energy affects appetite. Appetite affects choices. Choices affect sleep. Sleep affects everything. That's not a moral failure. It's just math. So what do constraints actually do? They do three things. They reduce complexity. They remove negotiation. They protect momentum. And today I'm going to give you a paper version of this, something you can build in less than 10 minutes. Not a perfect system, but a usable system. And a system that reveals where your day leaks and gives you something solid to return to. And we're going to do it this way on purpose, because the goal isn't to make you dependent on my structure. The goal is to help you build your own without pretending you need a perfect plan or routine just to start. So if you're in a position to do this right now, grab a sheet of paper, just one. And at the top, I want you to write daily constraint card. Underneath that, write today's 3 checks and draw 3 empty boxes. That's it. 3, not 10, not a long list. We're certainly not going to do a life overhaul here. Just 3 checks, because constraints actually collapse complexity. When you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing consistently. But when we pick a small amount, in this case 3, we create a small battlefield. Now here's the first rule. Your checks must be actions, not outcomes. Not get in shape, not be disciplined. Actions. Something you can do today. Something you can mark as done. The second rule, they must be binary, done or not done. Because if it's vague, it's negotiable. And if it's negotiable, it will eventually become optional. Now under each check, write a line that says, minimum counts as done. This matters more than people realize, because most people design their habits for good days, but good days don't always need design. Hard days do, busy days. Remember, the normal days. Minimums are not weakness. Minimums are how you protect momentum. A minimum action taken early beats a perfect action taken late, because late perfection is usually a lie. It's the story we tell ourselves to justify postponing. So write a minimum version for each check. Something you can do even when you're tired, when you're busy, or when life doesn't cooperate. Now this is the key part. Under the 3 checks, write first action and leave it blank. Because I want you to pick one check, the most essential one, and commit to acting on it early. Not thinking about it early, acting. Because early action locks the day, and that's the point. It's not about rushing everything done by noon. It's about protecting one essential action before the day starts negotiating with you. Because the day will negotiate. It will very calmly say,
Hey, we'll handle a few things, and think about the rest later.
or,
Let's just do it later. We've got time.
and that sounds reasonable until it's 9 p.m. and that habit becomes expensive. So choose your first action. Now the final piece. Write one sentence that starts with if \then. Just one. If then. Because one rule is stronger than 10 intentions. And the rule goes like this. If I miss the morning window, then I do the minimum at lunch. Or if the day goes sideways, then I protect my first action no matter what. Or if I feel resistance, then I start with 2 minutes. That if-then rule is a constraint. It removes negotiation. It gives you an automatic pivot that doesn't depend on mood. Now you're not running on willpower. You're running on design. Notice what we just built. 3 checks, minimum standards, 1 early action, 1 pivot rule. That's not philosophy. That's a tool. And you built it in under 10 minutes. Here's what happens when you run it. You start seeing the truth, where execution leaks. What survives pressure? What disappears first? And what time of the day you actually begin to break down. Constraints don't judge. Systems don't judge. They just reveal. And once you start to see what's really happening, you can adjust with precision, not emotion or guilt. Iteration. That's the whole game. Because progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from iteration. Now, a quick warning, because this is where most people mess up. They make checks too big. They design for perfect days. They choose standards they can only hit when everything goes right. Then they miss once and decide the system failed. No, the system did its job. It revealed that the constraint was unrealistic. So you shrink it, but don't quit. You don't rebuild your identity. You adjust the constraint. Consistency before intensity. That's what holds. And this connects directly to the last episode. Because postponement is debt, and constraints are how you stop borrowing. They pull decisions upstream and protect early action on what actually matters. So here's your assignment. Tonight or tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this, build your constraint card. Write 3 checks. Write the minimums. Pick the first action. Write one if-then rule. Run it for 7 days. Not 30, just 7. And at the end of the 7 days, adjust one thing. Not everything, just one. Because you're not chasing motivation. You're building something you can return to. And one last thing. On YouTube, I'm going deeper on a concept that sits right at the top of this. Late action. Why so many people decide, but still delay execution until the day slips. And how moving the most essential action early stabilizes everything. If you want that breakdown, you'll find it on YouTube at my LIGX. And if you're listening to this and thinking, yeah, this is exactly where I break down, I want you to email the show. You can email us at builtdaily@myligx.com. Tell me your 3 checks. Tell me where the day normally slips for you. We'll get stronger together. You don't need motivation. You need a system you can return to. I'm Cedric, and this is Built Daily.